Hello there everyone, and welcome to your weekly MTA plan work video for the Queens Subways and the Long Island Railroad for the weekend of Friday, October 4th, 2019, and lasting until Monday, October 7th, 2019. So of course we have a lot to get into. For Long Island Railroad riders, I suggest you stay to the end because we have a lot to get into with the Nassau Boulevard, Maryland Avenue bridge replacement. So we're going to get into that later on in this video because it is very important that I bring this up. And I will quickly mention to everybody that the good news is I can confirm this with multiple sources that this is going to be the last outage along the main line this year on a weekend. Let's hope we don't get double crossed because we'll get an answer regarding that when the MTA committee books come out 2 weeks from today on October 18th. And I'll quickly mention, if you didn't see the agenda video, I will not be attending this month because I have my schedule obligation for Oslam, where I work normally once a week, so I can't get out of it. So there's that. But we'll know more details when the books come out in 2 weeks regarding more work this year. So with that being all said, let's get straight into our plan work video for this week. Starting off with the presentation, and I do apologize, I have to put something away, so I'll have to multitask here. First question, is there any planned work on our purple friend? And the good news is another weekend where the 7 train will be available. So that's excellent news. Let's keep this streak going. Unfortunately, we have to talk about the Ditmars line because there's another headache coming this weekend. October 4th for the 7th, Friday 11 p.m. to Monday 5 a.m. 7 and the Q train will replace end service between Times Square, 42nd Street, and Queensboro Plaza because of signal improvements. So another example of Andy Byford's fast forward plan going into effect. End service will run between Coney Island, Stillwell Avenue, and Times Square, 42nd Street. For service between Queens and Manhattan, you can take the 7 via transfer between trains at Times Square, 42nd Street. So again, if you need service to Queensboro Plaza, you can take the 7 or, right, you can't take the Q. The Q is 2nd Avenue. So the only option is to take the 7. So that's why you have the 7 available, because they're doing work on the Ditmars line. So obviously, if they're going to do signal improvements, you need the 7 so that way people can at least get to Queensboro Plaza. Now, thankfully, if you need to get to Queens Plaza for any odd reason, you want to do this, you can take the E or the R train. So that is an option this weekend. Now, as far as people trying to get to, let's say, 49th Street by Broadway and 57th Street, 7th Avenue, which is right by the Plaza Hotel, which is right by Bloomingdale's, which is right by the entrance for Central Park, you can take the Q. So if you need that service, you can just transfer to the Q. You can take it to and from Times Square, 42nd Street. To and from 59th Street and Lexington Avenue, 59th Street, right, 5th Avenue, 59th Street, there you go. You can use nearby 59th Street, 456 via the transfer with the 7 at Grand Central, or the N train at Union Square. Now let's talk about some shuttle buses here, because this is very important. You will have shuttle buses being run along Queensboro Plaza and Ditmars Boulevard. Now, here's a catch here. Some buses that will be departing Ditmars Boulevard will be running southbound express to Queensboro Plaza. You can transfer between the 7 train and buses at Queensboro Plaza. And lastly, another important service change along the N line this weekend. October 4th, Friday, beginning at 11 a.m. and lasting until Monday, October 7th. N trains will be running local in both directions between Canal Street and Chinatown and Times Square 42nd Street, the last stop because of signal improvements. So, unfortunately, I got some bad news. Apparently, and I can't confirm this with the email notification system, if you are curious and you may be asking yourself, well, Andy, what about the queue? Is the queue going to run express? Well, unfortunately, the bad news is the queue will also be running local. So sorry, folks, it's all local on the N, Q, and R this weekend. That is a bummer, but maybe a small victory for some people, I guess, if they want to get to the local stations. I don't know. But again, another example of Andy Byford's fast forward plan in effect. So again, if you want to point the finger at somebody, it's Andy Byford. But coming from somebody like me who appreciates what Andy Byford's trying to do, the work has to get done. I mean, you can't do it between Monday and Friday, right? So when are you going to do it? You have to do it on the weekend. There's no excuse on that. It really isn't. So thankfully, they're doing the work now. We'll get into more of it later on how Fast Forward is playing a key for the Queens Boulevard line this weekend, which I'll get into that as we go along here. On the L, once again, quickly want to mention, L will be running it between Brooklyn and Manhattan every 20 minutes because of the project schedule until, believe it or not, April of 2020. So, to be fair to everybody, I'm actually going to read you all an AM New York article at the end of this video regarding the L. So we'll do that at the very end of this video after I talk about the Long Island Railroad work at Merlon Avenue and Nassau Boulevard. So I think that is some important news that I need to discuss with you all on that. That's actually going to go until April. That's good news. Very quickly, in Brooklyn, L will be running every 10 minutes. So if you need the L train to Brooklyn, it'll be there. Now, need to bring this up. October 4th for the 7th. Approximately 11:15 p.m. to Monday, 5 a.m. There will be buses that will be replacing trains between Lumiere Street and Broadway Junction because of station improvements and electrical work. So I'm thinking maybe this is because they're finally installing the elevator at Broadway Junction, maybe. I don't know. That's a possibility. Alright, so here's how the L is going to work out. So you'll have L between 8th Avenue, 14th Street, and Lumiere every 20 minutes. And then you'll have service between Broadway Junction and Rockaway Parkway in Canarsie. Alright, so this definitely makes sense. I gotta give the MTA credit on that. That at least they're being considerate and they're giving you shuttle buses at least. So where the shuttle buses will be going? Okay, this makes complete sense. So if you need to take the J at Myrtle Wyckoff, or the M in that case, that's going to be an option, thankfully. And between Myrtle Wyckoff and Broadway Junction. So wow, that's another thing I don't understand is that why do you have to change for another bus at Myrtle Wyckoff? I don't understand that. Maybe it's because if you need to get to Broadway Junction, I would assume that you could just take the J train. Maybe that's why they're doing that. I don't know. But that's going to be crazy. No direct service. Transfer between trains and buses at Lumiere Street and or Broadway Junction. So I don't know how this is going to work out, honestly. Alright, so another option is the AC and J to and from Broadway Junction or the M to and from Myrtle Wyckoff. On the M, not really going to get into it again. It's the same old routine. Everybody should know this by now because of the M project and because of the signal modernization project from Fast Forward. Good news for the R, no plan work in Queens. However, I suggest if you are looking for service regarding, there's big headaches in Brooklyn. That's all I'm going to say. So if you want info on that, please visit the Weekender website. I will have it in the description below. Now let's get to the E. E and the F will be running local in both directions because of signal modernization. So this will be both on the E and the F, October 5th to the 7th, Saturday, 12:01 a.m. to Monday, 5 a.m. So just want to quickly bring that up, that another weekend with the Fast Forward plan going into effect. Now, eventually, this may have to do something along with the G, which we'll get into that in just a second here. Now, there's going to be flood protection work along the A. Very quickly, want to mention that C service will not be impacted this weekend, so don't worry about that. But for the A line, October 4th to the 7th, Friday, 10 p.m. to Monday, 5 a.m. In both directions, A trains will be stopping at 50th, 23rd, and Spring Street because of flood protection. So, no express service. Sorry. Has to be done. Flood protection has to be done. Especially how we don't want another repeat of what happened after Sandy. Not going to get into the 42nd Street line. I just like to leave it here, but still, I really do feel bad that people have to deal with this. But I may delete this slide next week. Now to the J. No work on the J's. That's excellent. Another weekend where we have no work on the J. So, because of the L thing, you know, you do need the J to be an option at Myrtle Wyckoff in Broadway Junction, at least. The crosstown line, no plan work, but I have a theory within the next couple of weeks or maybe the next couple of months that this slide might change because they are thinking of updating the signals. So we'll now have reached the Long Island Railroad work portion of the video. So I'm going to get off the PowerPoint program and we'll get right to Google Chrome and talk about the Merlon Avenue Nassau Boulevard Bridge Replacement Project. And we will talk about good news regarding the L train. Alright, so now we have reached the Long Island Railroad service changes portion of this weekend's video. So we're going to talk about the Nassau Boulevard Bridge Replacement Project, which is located right by the intersection of Merlon Avenue in Garden City. So, first up, to give you an idea of this area, it is a little bit south of Jericho Turnpike. So Jericho Turnpike can cooperate. Thank you. Jeez, I swear, you know, this is what happens when you have something that doesn't cooperate. So I know I definitely want to do a summit at this station. I am going to work on making it happen. So currently, we know the bridge is 11 feet. So their goal is to make sure that this bridge right by Merlon Avenue is going to be bigger. Alright? So you see here, we're going to get a view of the bridge. So this is the bridge, once again, right over here. So this was recently from 2018. Wow, not that far back. Okay. That's a little more recent, I guess. We get a better view of how oh, here we go. So like I said, 11 feet, and what they're proposing to do is make this 13 feet. Now, recently, I had a discussion about this privately with my best friend Daniel, who you've seen on this channel a couple times before in the past, and he's also been featured on Matt Camper's channel, Camper News Network, and he completely agrees that they're doing the right thing by preventing the bridge strikes. And Daniel, believe it or not, takes Nassau Boulevard a lot to get to the campus of Nassau Community College, because he's currently a college student. So he agrees that the Long Island Railroad should absolutely do this work with the raising the bridge, and more importantly, in progress for the third track, which again I have been a vocal advocate for. And I'm hoping that we don't get double crossed according to Pine Power Allies theory of more freight trains. I hope we're going to get more service at New Hyde Park. That's what I hope this third track will do. That's what I'm hoping. So at least they're getting it done. That's the main thing. All right? So pretty much this weekend, please, if you are a motorist, avoid this area. Because the bridge, they're doing work on it. You're not going to be able to get through to this area. So, what do you do if they're detouring you onto Main Avenue? Well, the good thing is, I will recommend this. You can go on Tanner's Pond Road and cut back the Jericho Turnpike. Now, thankfully, if you are a resident in this area, you know your shortcuts, so hopefully you can figure it out. So again, you have Main Avenue, and then you have Merlon Avenue. So thankfully, this bridge that goes to Old Country Road, which, again, this is Herrick's Road, right? This is Herrick's Road. I know Herrick's Road cuts right to Old Country, where it leads right into Mineola. So thankfully, that will not be an issue on that end. So let's talk about what they're doing here. This weekend, there's going to be no service along the main line between New Hyde Park and Hicksville. So again, we'll take a look from the Modern LI website. Ooh, I do apologize, folks. I wanted to put it in a new tab. There we go. So I'll put that up in just a second. So we know that this expansion project, there's going to be a third track once again between Floral Park and Hicksville. So again, let's hope that, again, Pine Power is wrong in my advocacy for this third track will work, because we know why we need it. The third, there's more and more people riding the Long Island Railroad each and every day, right? We know that. And especially how, not just on weekdays, on weekends as well. So, I don't want to hear any excuses about why we don't need a third track. So let's get into these service changes. Port Jefferson Huntington line, 2-hour service intervals. Huntington through Hicksville will be hourly. Once again, New Hyde Park, Merlon Avenue, Call Place, Westbury, no service. Mineola will be served with train service to and from Oyster Bay. So the good news is, and I can confirm that yes, thank you, Transdev. They actually came through for another weekend. So this is some good news, folks. Long Island Railroad tickets will be cross-honored between Mineola and Hicksville. However, I do have a problem with this. I should have realized this last weekend. I don't know why on the N24 they can't cross-honor people to Floral Park. See, that's what I can't understand at the moment. Alright, Ronkonkoma line. Once again, this is how things are going to work. Between Ronkonkoma and Hicksville, hourly service intervals. Ronkonkoma through Greenport, not really going to get into that. And at Bethpage, you will be served by shuttle trains between Babylon and Hicksville. So, one last weekend where we will have the shuttle train service between Hicksville and Babylon. Oyster Bay line, 2-hour service intervals between Oyster Bay and Mineola only. Transfer to and from buses for Hempstead. Which, again, I would not recommend that. Do not go to Hempstead. Which I'll get into how you can finagle the bus driver if you can. If you can, I would recommend this option if you can do it, which I'll get to Garden City in just a second. So, Hempstead branch service increased hourly to half-hour intervals. So the good news is you will have service on the Hempstead branch for another weekend between Penn Station and Hempstead, and another weekend where if you want to transfer to the subway in Brooklyn, you can do that at Atlantic Terminal. All right, all adjusted schedules due to changes in connecting service. I will warn you all right now, this weekend there will be severe overcrowding on the Port Washington and Babylon branches. So if you are planning to take the Babylon and Port Washington branch this weekend, please leave luggage at home. Do not take it with you if you can. Now, large luggage I meant. Yes, large luggage. Small luggage, I don't know. That's going to be an issue this weekend. More importantly, if you can, don't bring any bikes in the trains this weekend because, again, I've heard from people that the Babylon branch does in fact get crowded when you do have this work, along with the Port Washington. I've had people told me this. So again, please don't even think about bringing a bike onto the train this weekend because I'm sure you're not even going to be able to get a seat. Now again, N4041, please, I will not suggest that option. Oh, quickly want to mention we have an event in Oyster Bay this weekend on Sunday morning only, 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. Buses will be replacing trains between Locust Valley and Oyster Bay for the Runner's Edge to Bay Triathlon. Come to think of it, isn't this the weekend of the Jones Beach thing? Because I don't know why they're not running service on the N88 this weekend. Autism Walk, I just want to Google it. Autism Walk, Jones Beach. Let's see what we got here. I'll just quickly look that up for a second because I got a rant. I got a rant regarding this. Yep, they're having the Jones Beach thing. Once again, why is there no service being provided on the N88 from Freeport? Ice Bus better get their act together next week. They can't run the N88 on Sunday. People who want to participate in this walk. Unbelievable, you know? I wanted to know if this was the weekend of the autism walk. Seems not. Unbelievable, this company. You know, TransDev just doesn't care. They just don't. Alright, so again, if you are coming from Huntington, Port Jefferson, around Ronkonkoma lines, once again, you can take a shuttle train to Babylon. Shuttle train to Babylon will take you 2 points west. Now, as far as parking is concerned, to reduce additional travel time, customers are advised to use the Port Washington branch along the Oyster Bay line. As far as parking is concerned, Port Washington has no restrictions on weekends and holidays. I know this for a fact because, again, I know people who live in the Port Washington area, and they've told me this. Manhasset, $10 daily fee without Manhattan Park District permits. So, again, if you do not have a parking permit at Manhasset, you're going to have to pay the $10. Douglaston, 120 spaces. Little Neck, approximately 110 spaces. Let's see. I don't think they, I was just going to mention that at Merrick, there is no restrictions. Freeport has no restrictions. I'm pretty sure Belmore doesn't have any restrictions either, if you want to go there. Once again, if you do want to park at Hicksville and you want to deal with the shuttle train to Babylon, then just go west that way. The good news is you can have that option. Hempstead, once again, do not recommend going in that area, which I'll get into that in just a second. Floral Park. Now, if you do want to park in Floral Park this weekend by Tulip Avenue, no restrictions on weekends and holidays. I'll also mention this as well. If you are going to Floral Park for any reason and you are looking for street parking, The good news is there is some residential areas around Little Neck Parkway by Jericho Turnpike that, if you do circle around, you can find parking. So that's some good news on that. And in fact, come to think of it, I know there are people who go to Floral Park on weekends and they'll even park on residential streets. So if you circle around, you may get lucky, which I would recommend that option if you don't find anything in Floral Park. So again, if you're coming from Mineola, I would recommend, if you do have the spare cash around, just go to Floral Park, take the N24. That would be my recommendation for this weekend. Please, I'm begging you, do not go to Hempstead. Once again, it's not a safe area. The quality of life is miserable, and, we know how bad it can get. And plus, just last weekend, the M15 got into an accident by the courthouse last weekend, so we know how unsafe that area is. Now, as far as people, let's say, I don't know, you want to take the M4041, and you may want to finagle with the driver and say, oh, I want to get off and go to Garden City, which, again, I would highly recommend. Garden City is a beautiful station. So I've been recommending this for everybody for the past couple of weeks. Franklin Avenue, North 7th Street, that's where you're going to get off. There is a bus stop right here. So again, it's right here for 7th Street. So you can get off here, right by Leo's Midway. And I know for a fact that Caligaros, figure out, where's Caligaros? I think it's further. No, Caligaros is north. Right, Caligaros is right by Stewart Avenue. So, again, I know this area very well. Oh, Grimaldi's is there too, right. The place that you get your only pie there. So, 7th Street, you can walk this way past Hilton Avenue, right by the Garden City Hotel, and this is where the Garden City train station is, where once again you will be served with hourly service to and from Penn Station this weekend. So again, very good. Once again, please do not go to Hempstead. I'm begging you, do not. Going out of the way. And plus, again, it just makes more sense to go to Garden City or Floral Park. Way more sense. Trust me. I know from experience. And very quickly, I want to mention something very important. I have a friend who is coming from Cobb Place this weekend. Again, to my friend, I would just recommend, if you can do this, just go to Floral Park on the N24 this weekend. I know she lives near the Cobb Place train station, but I know for a fact you can get to Seekendorf Boulevard and wait for the bus. That would be my recommendation. But overnight, I would just recommend to get an Uber from Hicksville, if possible. Just take the shuttle train. I know it'll be running overnight, and then, if possible, hell, even use an Uber if you can. That would be my recommendation, because I know for a fact that an Uber normally from Cobb Place to Hicksville should cost, what, $20 on a weekend? They shouldn't be overcharging. That's all I'm saying. So lastly, let's talk about the L train. Good news regarding the L train. Very quickly, if there's any press releases, I will read them. I will maybe look into some press releases that we can read. Let's take a look very quickly. So I'm willing to look into it. Oh, you know what? I'm not even going to read this one. I'm not even going to read this one. You know what? I'll save this one for Monday. We'll talk about this on Monday, because I'll do a special video regarding that. I'll tape the video probably over the weekend, and I'll talk about this, because I'm not too happy about this bus lane. Okay, so Vincent Barone wrote this article back on September 30th. So that was back on Monday, believe it or not. So past Monday. Very good for him. So Vincent Barone wrote, the MTA now plans to wrap up the Canarsie Tunnel rehabilitation work and relaunch full L train service by April 2020. Governor Cuomo, on a media tour back on Sunday, September 29th, said, the L train itself is a phenomenal piece of work and innovation. I truly applaud the people who are doing it that was doing what was impossible. Work crews have recently wrapped up work on the first tunnel tube and will move to fortify the second tube. So it looks like they're already starting it this week, so that's pretty good, or next week. The project reduced L service beginning in late April of this year and originally expected to be completed by July of 2020. So, pretty much, we were expecting this to be done sometime in July of 2020, but apparently they're doing it early. Alright, so this is going to cost $500 million. The state-controlled MTA has remained opaque regarding the project's cost. The questions linger over the permanence of the repairs. General LIRR, who again I'm very familiar with, I see him at every MTA Finance Committee meeting, and I see him at CPOC. Let's see. Stated on Sunday that only project could be completed under the original budget and ensure that construction will fortify the tunnel for another century. Alright, so once the project is completed, there will be only one remaining weekend service outage online. So that's pretty good. So again, I'm not really going to go into specifics, but this is good news. Excellent. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cuomo. Maybe you won't screw us for a change, maybe. Alright, so I think with that, I'm going to wrap up this weekend's video. So, thank you all very much for watching. Once again, Monday morning at, I'm going to aim for 8 a.m. on Monday. I will read to you the press release regarding the brand new bus lane along 14th Street, which I'm going to really rant about. How I'm mad about this, and how I'm going to possibly have to do a video about it in Manhattan sometime in November. So, thank you all very much for watching, and until the next one, please take care.